Errol Spence 10th round TKO of Yordenis Ugas. Ugas hung tough, but yo, man, Errol Spence looks like the truth again. I'll tell you, man, I have to be honest. I was wondering about the layoff, coming off the eye surgery. That was some pace he brought. Hard punches. You got to be in some kind of shape to throw hard punches like that consistently throughout the fight. And they just broke Ugas down. I thought Ugas got his distances wrong in the fight. To be honest with you, I really thought that early on he was actually doing okay. He had that jab to the body going that was really pushing back Spence a lot, and he was holding his ground very well. And usually when you hold your ground like that and you don't give up ground too much, what I mean by holding his ground, he wasn't just pressuring coming forward and just making it a slop fest. He was holding his ground. When Spence would try something, Ugas would sort of slip right from where he was or block and try to come back with something. And it sort of starts to put mental pressure on the opponent because he can't get you off of him. And your distance is from middle to close range consistently. And that can cause mental stress. And I thought Ugas was doing a good job of that early. What that can tend to do, and the point of that is to make a guy punch himself out and also mentally stress himself. And by mentally stressing himself, he'll throw too many punches and trying to fight you off and trying to create a little bit of space. And that'll wear him out. The combination of those things, the mental stress and the physical stress of throwing so many punches, will wear a guy down. But Spence kept calm. Ugas kept calm too, don't get me wrong. He kept calm and stayed disciplined with that mentality. But at a certain point, I just felt like Spence was getting off so much and it was getting off so consistently that I don't think Ugas ever was able to adjust. I thought Ugas got the reaction he wanted out of Spence, which is to get him to throw more punches and maybe stress him. But mentally, Spence stayed calm. Physically, Spence gave Ugas what he wanted. He threw a lot of punches, but it didn't give Ugas the result he wanted, which was for Spence to punch himself out. So in that regard, Ugas has to now make the adjustment back. He's got to go back to that mid-range and get back on that jab. Again, I love the jab to the stomach that he was using in the first round. It was sort of pushing Spence back. I think it was at the end of one of the rounds, I don't know if it was the end of the 8th round maybe, where Ugas went to the body for like the last 30 seconds and he started pushing Spence back a little bit for the first time in quite a few rounds, I thought that would have been the answer. Go back to behind your jab and then get to the body and get back behind your jab. Those two things were backing up Spence a little bit, and when he did those things, they would hinder Spence's output. The only problem is this, that when Spence made the adjustment, it was Ugas who stopped jabbing, and it was Ugas who was just catching. He was just trying to catch, and he wasn't really punching back a lot. And again, I can see the reason for this. I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to stress Spence, not giving ground, make Spence throw those punches, and by not giving ground, you make Spence continue to exacerbate himself. But when Spence did not exacerbate himself, and the punches kept coming, hard punches, crisp punches, terrific body punches, you've got to make the adjustment back. Otherwise, you just become sort of a punching bag. Ugas never really adjusted back towards Spence, and what it ended up doing in holding his ground, taking all those shots, even if he was blocking a lot of them were also getting through, especially to the body. They broke him down, and then when he's broken down, he's not blocking as assuredly, and the shots are getting through. Terrific uppercut by Errol Spence as well. He made really good use of that uppercut. I personally don't like to block the uppercut. I never like to block the uppercut with just the earmuffs. I prefer to block uppercuts when I dip down, to kind of put the palm of my glove down and try to block and then come up, and in case there's hooks, when you come back up, you block the side of your face. But on the dip, I always prefer to block the glove this way, because you're coming down, so you don't have to worry about anything coming from the side, because you're dipping. So when you're dipping, the only thing you got to worry about is what's coming underneath. So I tended to like to press the back of my glove, actually the front of my glove up against my chin and dip. When I was in those positions, it was only for a quick second, and then if anything would come, I would catch it with the palm of my glove, and then I would just sort of react and come back up and cover the side in case, because at that close distance, when you're coming back up, you could be in line to take a hook or take a straight shot. So, Ugas was blocking with sort of the earmuffs, and he was getting down low with the earmuffs as well, but the uppercuts were getting through. So great vision from Spence's part to see that, and for Ugas not making the adjustment, Spence kept using that to his advantage. In the end, when Ugas didn't get the result he wanted out of Spence, which is to make him punch himself out, to stress him to the point where, maybe his output would diminish and maybe Ugas could jump on him, I felt like Ugas never made the adjustment back. Like I said, you never saw the jab out of Ugas anymore after the first round. Really, I love that consistent jab Ugas had in the first round, where he was jabbing right to the stomach of Spence. I thought that was backing up Spence. I thought he had himself a good first round, and even part of the second round was good before Spence got into rhythm. And the output of Spence, I just don't think Ugas had an answer for it. He could have had an answer for it by catching and shooting on the inside a little bit instead of just putting up the high guard and just blocking everything, hoping that Spence would eventually punch himself out. He could have punched in between that, because Spence throws hard inside. So when you're throwing that hard and you're stepping in that hard, there's daylight in between your shots where you can kind of sort of dig little shots in between and get him to the stomach. Listen, easier said than done. Spence attacks with impunity, But I thought I would have liked to see a little bit of that out of Ugas, something to return on the inside, maybe off the catch and shoot, or go back and change the distance to that middle to long range and use your jab and sort of stop Spence from being so consistent in his attack on the inside, because Spence's body punching just did a lot of damage. Yes, he was eventually stopped with the eye closing, Ugas was, but I thought it was the body punching that slowed him down to the point where he became a sitting duck for the headshots as well. Terrific performance by Errol Spence. Honestly, man, I know Crawford is really, he's got a lot of wrinkles to his style, but man, it's very, very difficult to stop Errol Spence when he gets that body attack going. You've got to really be consistent in preventing him from closing the gap. I'd love to see the fight. I'd love to see how that plays out because if Spence gets inside on Crawford, remember Crawford is a naturally smaller guy. He started turn pro at lightweight, so if Spence starts to get off those body shots on the inside with that kind of consistency, it's really going to do a lot of damage even to Terence Crawford. But I'm curious to see if Crawford can hold off Spence at that distance and do some of the things that we saw Ugas have some success with, especially early on in the fight. I want to see this fight now more than ever, especially after last night. I was worried that Spence maybe wouldn't be as sharp, as on point, coming off of the recent negativity that he had between the first the car accident and then the eye surgery. But Errol Spence looked terrific last night. I look forward to seeing him again. I hope we get this Crawford fight. I don't want to see it when they get too old. I don't want to see it in the Mayweather-Pacquiao mold again. I want to see this fight in the real version of it. I want to see this fight done right, where they should fight right now. Everybody's salivating for it. They've both been looking so good. Make the fight happen right now. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, and you'll have the undisputed welterweight title on the line. It wouldn't get any better than that. Terrific performance by Errol Spence last night, and Yordenis Ugas, all heart, man, all heart. And yeah, he's got nothing to be ashamed of. Terrific fight, terrific performance, should I say, on the part of Spence. I'm Paulie Malignaggi for Paulie TV. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are, both on the possible Spence-Crawford fight that we constantly been talking about and doesn't happen, and also on what you guys thought of Spence's performance last night. Take care.